What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a great Thursday. Thank you for being with us for another installment of Taking It Back. How we doing, Zach? Good to see you, man.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Adel. How about you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm trying to match your polo shirt game today. You
Oh,
always come on like rocking these awesome, fun polos. So I'm doing my best to match that energy today.
I'm a big fan of the Sasquatch polo or whatever else. What he's doing. I mean, this looks like the Patterson Gimlin film if it was taken on the beaches of Naples, Florida.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
I love this one. So, I'm pretty big and pretty clumsy. And my brother calls me Sasquatch for that reason. So he bought me this Sasquatch golf hat. And I was like, well, I'm just leaning into this 100%. So I went online. I found every fun Sasquatch golf shirt I could find. And
That's rad.
this is probably my favorite. So anyway, it's awesome to be with you, Zach. And looking forward to going through a bunch of stuff, starting with I guess I'll just jump right in with the Democrat ticket. It looks like it's going to be Harris-Walz, the selection of Waltz. What do you make of that? What was your reaction to her picking probably the most radical left governor in the country, maybe short of Gavin Newsom?
I think for a candidate that we want to go against, I think it's great.
Mhm.
He is literally as radical as it gets. It's, hard to be further left than Kamala Harris, but he is. I think he's also going to be less likable for the majority of the country. If they didn't have a reason to vote for Kamala Harris before she chose Tim Walz, they're still not going to have a reason to vote for Kamala Harris now that she's chosen Tim Walz. And I think between the two of them, they will have alienated anyone in this country that has even just the basest understanding of what's been going down over the last couple of years. I mean, take a look at Minnesota. It's basically little Somalia now. And Tim Walz presided over the destruction in the Summer of Love, the burning of Minneapolis and so many other cities. It's abject disaster for them. And I think that what they were trying to do was to appeal to like the most radical left wing base. They've already abandoned the Jewish vote, and they have to lean into that radical Antifa and Muslim base. And that's the only way that they can think that they're going to be able to pull this off. Now, I don't think they'll be successful, but those people will certainly mobilize during the summer. And if they need another summer of love, then I think they'll be able to kick it off.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they're definitely pandering to the Arab vote that they desperately need it in Michigan. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
is probably the biggest reason they went with Waltz. I think Josh Shapiro probably would have been far more popular through most of the country,
Yeah.
but I think they lose Michigan if they go with him. They might even have trouble with Minnesota too if they went with Shapiro because of the massive Muslim populations
Yeah.
in those states, right? So
Well,
they're
think about all those unaffiliated voters that
Mhm.
refused to vote for Joe Biden in the primaries. Now those people are going to have a reason to vote for Kamala Harris because Tim Walz is there.
Have they completely because they were calling him Genocide Joe, and they're really pissed about kind of the handling of that situation by pivoting to Kamala Harris and now adding Waltz to the ticket. Does that undo the damage done to that voting block? You
Yeah.
think does that pretty much repair it for the Democrats?
I think so. I think so because it's clear Kamala didn't have anything to do with any policy decisions or, whether or not to assist Israel or to assist Gaza. She was just kind of along for the ride, and she's been very critical of Israel this entire time. So, yeah, I think that will have repaired that relationship, and they'll definitely be supporting them because I mean those people are certainly not going to support Donald Trump.
Do you think it's going to cause any fracturing of the Democrats, like in Congress or just in general? Because there's a lot of like very heavily pro-Israel Democrats too. Like Israel
Hmm.
has its hooks into both sides of the aisle in this country pretty good.
Hmm.
A Harris Waltz ticket is about as anti-Israel as you can get for president, short of nominating Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib as your ticket.
Right.
I mean, as far as like a realistic ticket, I guess that's about as anti-Israel as it gets. And not that I'm pro-Israel or anything like that, but I don't know. Do you see that like
Oh,
causing them to lose endorsements from within the party, or do you think they'll still stay unified behind Kamala Harris?
I think that they'll probably be forced to unify behind Kamala Harris. And that's because they know what the alternative is. I mean, this is something the Democrats have always been really good at is coming together so that they can achieve their ultimate ends. And even if, these various factions within the party have opposing views, they know that, the ultimate goal really is to just keep the White House. And so they'll go ahead and they'll come at each other. They might call each other out, but they will end up voting for each other. Dan Goldman, he's Jewish and he's in Congress. He put out a statement of support for Kamala Harris and even brought up the idea that she didn't choose Josh Shapiro because of anti-Semitism. Funnily enough, he also pointed out that there is a lot of anti-Semitism inside the Democrat Party, which I found to be, just shocking that he would admit it. But ultimately, he said, I'm going to be supporting Kamala Harris because we got to make sure that we keep the White House. Now, where that may not translate is among donors and among voters. Say like moderate Jews, people with money, but who, don't want to get behind somebody who is supporting like Islamic causes. I think that Donald Trump said it in his press conference today. If there are Jews in America who are considering voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they might as well commit suicide, basically. Because
You're not a
it,
Jew if you're not
it,
voting for me.
yeah, it's yes. If you're not voting for me, then it's suicide. And I think that Donald voting for Donald Trump is the best bet for everybody. You had peace in the Middle East under Donald Trump. You didn't have Israel and Gaza at each other's throats. Like things were, relatively well adjusted. You keep having these periods of upheaval every couple of years, and it kind of coincides with the flavor of the nation over here. Donald Trump would be able to bring that back to some semblance of normalcy and get people into a peacetime stance rather than worrying about whether or not they're going to be able to blow each other's heads off. With Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, that's certainly not going to happen. I mean, she's openly antagonistic. And that also translates to here in America, too. She was totally on board with the protests on the college campuses and stuff. And again, those are the same people who were protesting back in 2020. I don't really know where Kamala Harris falls ideologically, if she actually buys into that stuff or if she is just pandering, but she's signed her death warrant at this point. I mean, she's made her bed and she has to continue to lie in it. Otherwise, she's going to look weak and she's going to lose support from either side of the aisle. But I think that you're going to have many Jewish people in America who are going to feel very uncomfortable voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, whether or not they're like pro-Zionist or whether they, think that what's happening between the Gazans and the Jews is a good thing or not. Just purely based upon where the country is going, you have you have a situation that is unsustainable. Take a look at what's going on in the UK right now. That could easily be the United States in just a couple of years. They've got Sharia courts in the UK that are openly operating. Okay, Sharia law is incongruous with a constitutional republic. But under a sympathetic presidency, I could see that actually being implemented in areas where you have a majority Muslim population. Minnesota, I think it would be rife to take charge in that area. And, I don't think they do anything to stop it.
Yeah, I don't see them doing anything to stop it either. And again, you just look at, like you said, what's happening overseas in the UK. That's always a bit of a preview of what they'd like to be doing here. And we'll get into the UK a little bit later in the show because there's a lot of stuff happening over there that's quite unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play this clip for you, Zach. One of our favorite TDS personalities who's kind of starting to see the light a little bit. What's his name? Michael Rapporteur. He came out and put this video when it comes to the picking of the picking of Waltz over Shapiro. I thought this was pretty funny.
For all you weak
Oh, I got a share sound, I think.
No, it was playing.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
ass as a Jews out there who preface everything by saying, as a Jew, I say Israel sucks. As a Jew, I say ceasefire. Like your shit carries any weight because you're saying it as a Jew. You can criticize Israel all you want. Israelis do all the time. Okay, you can mock Israel. You can mock other Jews for standing with Israel. You can bark all that bullshit about phantom genocides and phantom occupations all you want from the safety of the United States. But you weak ass, self-hating as a Jew, remember this: if the Intifada ever comes, if the Intifada ever came to the United States, London, France, those shitbag terrorists are gonna treat you as a Jew. And you could go, oh, I posted a watermelon last week. That shit ain't gonna work. I posted something from Al Jazeera last week. That shit ain't gonna work. You're a fucking Jew. Okay, you might not support Israel. You might not agree with Israel. Okay, but remember, if you were in Israel, on the 7th, you be treated as a Jew. You bitch ass as a Jews will always be treated by radical terrorists as a Jew. Your ancestors are embarrassed by you bitch ass, weak ass, self-hating motherfuckers.
This guy's so unhinged, but I mean, he's not wrong in this situation.
No, he's not. Just have some principles, stand on them. I mean, like, and it truly doesn't matter. I mean, you look, people are trying to exist in these two different worlds that, again, are incongruous. They do not mix. They do not match. And, I mean, at the end of the day, Muslims, they don't want to live with other people. Like, they want to rule over these other people. I mean, like, they want to take over. I mean, it's like you see it throughout history. And, I saw this clip from Joe Rogan. It's from a couple of years ago, but it was Gavin McInnes. And he was talking about the problem with inbreeding in these hyper, isolated Muslim populations, and how, like, the level of inbreeding is just, like, out of control because there's no constraints on it. And some of the behavioral characteristics that you'll see in populations that are, like, overly inbred match up perfectly with the sorts of violence that you see coming from people that just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I used to just think it was like a third world problem. Like, you've got people coming from a culture that is like antithetical to, like, modern Western civilization. But I think it's probably a lot more than that. I mean, it would make sense because otherwise, if that was it, then people would be able to come here and they would be able to assimilate. But this is a culture that doesn't want to assimilate.
Right.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. A lot of them come here with no interest in taking part in Western culture, and that's where the friction really comes. And I think that's where, when you talk about vetting immigrants into this country, I think there needs to be a process for gauging, who wants to come here and assimilate and become an American, and who wants to come here, to take advantage of economic opportunity, but has no interest in being part of our culture.
Yep.
And I don't know how you go about that, or how you vet that out, or what kind of resources you would need to really understand what's in the hearts and minds of these people that are applying to come in. But when you just leave the door wide open the way we have for so long, and just allow anybody and everybody to come through the border, this is what you get. You get areas of the country that become overrun with people that have absolutely no reverence for the culture, the way our society works, the country's history, anything it stands for. And that's where you get a lot of major problems. So no, I totally agree. Do you think this is it? Do you think this is the ticket, Zach? Like, I've heard certain people saying that they think there's another switch coming, that it's not really going to be Kamala, that this is like a placeholder. I find that hard to imagine that they'd be able to switch out their candidate twice in a matter of a month and a half, right before the election and have that not go over like a lead balloon. What do you think? Is this it? Kamala and Waltz? Is this what we're getting?
I think it would I think it would be nearly impossible for them to do it and and have any measure of success. I mean, like, so one thing that's very strange right now and and makes me think that this really is it, is that Kamala Harris has registered her current presidential campaign. So when you register with the FEC as it like for a campaign, they give you like a unique identifier, a number that it coincides for life with your presidential campaign. Kamala Harris had one already because she ran for president back in 2020. When she registered this time around, she actually registered using Joe Biden's number, which, although it's a little bit shady, allows her to make claim to that war chest that Joe Biden had. Now, if she would have done it correctly and used her own number, it wouldn't be as simple as her being able to say, you know, that's my money because it's Joe Biden's money and it has to be returned. So now there's like this complicated web of paperwork that has to be sorted out. And when you go to look this up, you can still find Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, but it's from 2020. And Biden's campaign now links to Harris's campaign. So there's like two presidential campaigns for Kamala Harris, and it shouldn't be like that. So I think that, that could be Kamala Harris hedging her bets against the Democrats, taking it from her because she took part in stealing it from Joe Biden like just a moment ago. Mm-hmm. So is it possible? Maybe, but I think it would be extremely difficult. And I think that it would cause a lot of turmoil. But, I mean, who are the possible candidates? I mean, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama. Like if some dream ticket for the Democrats waltzes out on stage at the DNC and says, hey, Kamala Harris can't win, especially with Tim Walz, we're going to have to, you guys are going to have to nominate us because we can actually do it. Yeah, that's a possibility. But I think because they've already virtually nominated her, she's already got all of the delegates pledged. She's already stolen Joe Biden's money. I think this is looking like it's going to be it.
Yeah, I would agree. I can't imagine them trying to pull that off. I mean, you mentioned the way she kind of maneuvered to get into that war chest. Where is like the Republican lawsuits or whatever challenging that? Like I would be making that as difficult for her to access as possible. I'd be trying to get some kind of injunction in some federal court, taking it up with the FEC. Like,
so I think the Trump team actually did file suit. This was maybe a week or two ago that I had read this, and I haven't seen anything about it since. But I swear that I saw something about somebody being sued as a result of this happening. But what else is happening is that Donald Trump has been like simping for Joe Biden, like talking about like how he got such a raw deal and he can't believe they did this to him, and that's been really interesting.
He was calling it for like a year that was going to happen. So
yeah,
it's funny to hear him go from like, oh, they're not going to let him run, he's not the candidate, into like, bring him back.
Yeah. And now, and there's talk that Joe Biden is going to try to come back in and reclaim the spot. And if he does that, I mean, Kamala Harris has already stolen his campaign funds. So I don't know. I mean, I saw Don Jr. mention it. I've seen a couple of different people in like conservative ink mention that, this is a possibility. So we'll have to see what happens. I don't even know, man. Like, this is so wild to me.
Yeah, we've never I've never seen anything quite like this before. And
No.
she's refusing to take any questions because they don't, not refusing to take any questions. They're hiding her the same way they hid Joe Biden. Like, they don't want her talking policy. They don't want her taking unscripted questions from the media. It's like the basement strategy 2.0.
Yeah, I just saw something today that said Kamala likely will do like no interviews throughout the month of August. Like, I think that probably they're waiting for her to like actually go through the nomination process at the DNC. And this way it leaves her less vulnerable to attack. Like if she opens her mouth right now before they've done like the public coronation, then it may be things that comes out of her mouth that they'll be able to attack her for, and it'll be easier.
When you say attack her, you mean other Democrats to like replace her? Like, is she being protected by her own like inner circle, or protected against like what the Trump campaign and the Republicans would use against her, or a combination of both? Like,
I think it's a combination of both. But I think that it's more likely that it would be used behind the scenes, as like in the way that they went after Joe Biden privately. They could go and put Kamala in a room with like all of the DNC bigwigs and say, we're going to force you to listen to the numbers, which say that you are the worst candidate that we've ever put on a ticket, because she is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I man, this whole thing is wild to me. All right. So I had another clip here. This is Kamala Harris at a recent event. There's a couple clips here, but I think this is the one I want. I'm gonna make sure. But she said, so I guess it was the speaking event here was interrupted by protesters about shouting about Gaza, genocide in Gaza, and take a listen to how this goes. That's not the one I was looking for. Hold on, it was this one here.
Correct. You know what?
All right, so she's about to say, you know what? If you want to elect Donald Trump, keep talking. Otherwise, I'll talk or something.
If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
They go nuts. I wish I had the longer clip. Yeah, anyway, but then the crowd just doesn't let up. Like the protesters don't let up. They keep going and going and going. I don't know. I for some reason they still don't seem to like her very much either. These anti-Israel protesters, like they're harassing her campaign even after picking Walz, man. Like,
well, they want her. She hasn't talked about any policies that she would implement. She on her website, there's nothing to spell out the direction of her campaign or, anything that she plans to do. What they want is for her to openly denounce Israel, to state that, we support Palestinian statehood. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to pander to your desires. And they won't be satisfied until something like that happens. I mean, until that time, they've got to keep putting the thumb screws down.
How do we get her to answer the question? Because like the Democrat-friendly media isn't going to ask her the question, or maybe they will. I don't know, but like I feel like in that first debate, Donald Trump needs to find a way to corner her on how she would handle Israel-Palestine, like force her to pick a lane, right? Because she's going to alienate herself from one side or the other.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's the only way it's going to happen, because she's not going to do interviews. And even if she does, I don't think she'll be able to answer the questions. I think that the most likely scenario is that she gets confronted about specific policy during those debates. How many they're going to have? I know that I think that he had tried to set one up at Fox. There was another one that was supposed to be with Biden at ABC. He said he wouldn't do that one because it was fraudulent, because it was supposed to be Biden. Now it's Harris. Now he's agreed to it. I don't know if she's agreed to the Fox News one, but I want as many debates as we can possibly get, because it's going to be very meme worthy.
So I think we're going to get 3.
Okay.
From what I understand, there's going to be one on there's be the one on ABC, one on NBC, and one on Fox. So I think they've agreed to 3 of them. Let me just double check and make sure I saw that correctly. I'll give you the exact dates here. Here we go. Oh, I lost the link. Anyway, yeah, they said, September 4th on NBC, September 10th on ABC, and then September 4th on Fox News, September 10th on NBC, and then September 25th on ABC is the plan there. So that's what Donald Trump said he's agreed to anyway. I'm not 100% sure if the Harris campaign has also agreed to those terms, but that's what I'm seeing right now.
Well, let's do it. I want to get as many as we can. I think that they're going to be genius.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I think so too. So another hilarious thing I wanted to get into with the Kamala campaign is she's being rejected by these TikTokers and influencers, these live streamers. Have you seen these? Like, so they're offering like 20 grand per they're offering like 20 grand I think per appearance at the DNC. They're trying to get them to, sit down with Kamala and interview her. Here's some responses from these different live streamers. I have no idea who these people are. This guy looks like he's streaming from the back of a trailer.
Kai Cenat. He's got millions of followers.
All right, so here's what he said. Oh, I muted this.
Then on top of that, I got the fucking Secret Service calling me 5 times, nigga! I don't know goddamn shit about politics, my nigga. I don't know nothing. Hey, I'm gonna keep it a stack. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I don't give a fuck. Okay? Listen, I had a bad bitch that I've been trying to get on for like the last 3 years, the last 2 years that I haven't spoke to in like a year.
You had to think so hard about
I haven't
that.
spoke to this girl in so goddamn long who gonna have the audacity to text me, "We need you a part of the campaign." At first I was thinking she was talking about like a video game, like a Modern Warfare game, or some shit. Or if not that, a clothing brand. I'm like, what campaign? Shorty gonna say, we're not gonna get into details. Say it right now. If there's some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me? Like, I don't know. I've never did anything with politics. And these blogs are like trying to say, yo, we gotta do this shit, Kai. And it's all the top blogs. But I'm like, bro, since when did niggas
Here's another one real fast. This one's much shorter.
But I will tell you one thing. Yo, Kamala Harris, stop hitting my team, you and the Secret Service, to do a stream. I am not doing a stream with any politicians, bro. Yo, Secret Service, stop hitting my fucking team.
Look for the sub.
I'm not doing any stream, bro. Stop.
I mean,
I love to see it. It's great.
It's crazy, like, to think you have a live stream, you have a bunch of influence. The presidential nominee for either party wants to do an interview with you, and you don't, like, you freak out, like, you turn it down. They're being harassed, apparently, getting called like 5 times a day by Secret Service to do an interview. It's like desperate.
It is desperate.
It's creepy almost. Like, these are kids being harassed by the Secret Service to bring Kamala. She wants to do an interview with these streamers, but she won't take questions from the media.
Well, because she knows the streamers are not going to ask the difficult questions, like, because they don't know anything about politics. They're not interested in politics. They'll ask her, questions of supreme banality about nothing at all. And she'll just sit there and cackle, and it'll go out to millions of people, and those people may be registered to vote, and they'll remember is that Kamala Harris did a live stream with their favorite video game streamer. And so then they might show up at the ballot box and they'll get a couple million extra votes. But they won't because these guys are not willing to do it. to debase themselves in this way. I love it.
Yeah, I love seeing it too. All right. Let's take a minute here, and 'cause I don't think I have anything else on the Kamala campaign or the ticket. So yeah, let's take a minute here and thank our sponsors of today's show. The first one is our friends at Love Litters. Attention, all you Badlanders with purring pals and feathered friends. Say hello to Love Litters, 100% pure, kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals, and oh so kind to Mother Earth. No dust, no mess, and no toxins, just lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Our biodegradable litter is crafted from wood destined for landfills, giving a new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. Our astonishing formula works like magic to neutralize that notorious cat urine's odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming. For bird lovers, it zaps moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them away, all while being safe if pecked at or ingested. For reptiles and critters too, our mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent, ensuring those little lungs stay happy and healthy. Plus, every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you money. Transform your pet care routine today. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter and breathe easy with a litter that loves your pets as much as you do. And then we also quick message from the Badlands
In today's
shop.
fast-paced world, peace of
Have
mind
any
is
plans for
priceless.
after the show?
That's
How
where
about heading
Badlands
over to the
Media
Badlands
steps in.
shop, where you'll find
Preparing
Patriot
for life's
companies with Patriot
uncertainties is
values.
about being ready
Put
for
your money
anything,
where your morals
right
are,
where
and
you
shop
are.
with peace of mind, supporting
Welcome
your
to the
favorite
Badlands Media
Badlanders.
Shop.
Whether you're
We've
shopping
partnered
for
with
everyday
Patriot
household
companies
items,
offering
unique gift for
products that
special
empower you
someone,
to prepare
skip
for any
the big box
eventuality
store. Check
comfortably
out the
from your home.
Badlands shop and support
The
Patriot
Badlands Media
businesses and
Shop has
Badlands
everything
Media
you
with
need
every
to secure
purchase.
your peace of
Find unique
mind.
items for your home and
Browse the
garden,
virtual
stock up on
aisles.
food,
Prepare
kids'
your
activities,
family
pet
for the year
supplies, and
ahead
even
with
plan your
products you can
financial
trust
future.
from companies
You'll
that
find
share your
just about
values.
everything we're
Whether
adding
it's
more
growing your own
every
food
day.
or
Thank you for
prepping
supporting
long-term
companies that
storage,
support Badlands.
protecting
We
your
couldn't do it
family,
without
or
you.
stocking
Visit
up on emergency supplies, we've got you
badlandsmedia.tv/shop
covered.
today.
Get prepared. Visit Badlands.
All right. As always, thank you guys for supporting the sponsors of the broadcast. And please hit that thumbs up button if you're on the Badlands Rumble page. Those of you guys on pill.net, be sure to hit that red pill button, repost the show, and wherever you're watching, please grab the link out of the browser and share that around as well. All right. So, Zach, I saw something interesting today during Trump's press conference. And well, I'm just going to play it, and I think it deserves a little discussion. So, was not expecting to hear something like this from Donald Trump.
Yeah, please. I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic story. You want to know the truth. And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. You know, with Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin. I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, and I'd say, just relax, please. We won the election. I think it would be I think it would have been horrible for our country and we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena from the United States Congress. And then, after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States, and then when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is I think the base is 75% of the country, far beyond the Republican Party, because we're a party of common sense, and I'm a person of common sense. I want to have low taxes. I want to have strong borders. I want to have a strong military so that China and Russia, look, they've allowed China and Russia to do the impossible combined. They're natural enemies. They always have been, because China needs more land and Russia has it. They've always been natural enemies, and because of Obama, it started with him, and then Biden, because he didn't know what the hell he was doing, they've now become one force. And then now they're adding Iran to it, and they're adding North Korea to it. Pretty powerful force.
All right, so good to see you, Frank. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Guys, how are you? Thank you. I'm so sorry about this late comer. Work's been nuts, but hey, I'm glad you guys got in on this. That one spot. I actually watched a little bit of this as I was working today. I kept it to the side, and there's some good thing. I liked hearing the mass deportations comment. I liked a couple other things. He was funny. I think all of the response to the ridiculous questions about this Kamala Harris production being real and threatening is just crazy. But what did you guys really feel about the Hillary comments? That I can't unhear shit like that. That really upset me.
That's what I literally just played, and I was shocked, absolutely shocked to hear that, because
Really
I was
upset
under the
me.
impression that he was all for putting her in jail, and it was the people around him that kind of stifled that, that effort to hold her accountable for her crimes. Now, hearing this, he's making it sound like it was his decision to go easy on her and not go down that road during his first term.
For
So,
unity's sake, to say that he'd protect her. I mean, she rigged the primary. She employed foreign agents and the FBI to spy on and sabotage presidential campaigns. Now, obviously, she wouldn't have been able to do all that. I mean, she wasn't. If somebody actually pulled a few threads of that sweater, Hillary Clinton would not have turned out being the biggest fish in that operation. But
No.
she was right in the middle of it. She was the most public face of it and the biggest public beneficiary. It was a very, very big bummer hearing that lame shit about history. So about Hillary, because essentially he's saying that he agrees with Comey that no reasonable prosecutor would have taken action against her and that she should have been allowed to continue to run her division of an international crime syndicate unmolested for the sake of national unity, a unity that's impossible to boot. Can't unhear shit like that.
So here's the thing. Donald Trump now has the moral high ground on this particular issue. Okay. He did not want to just go after Hillary Clinton. I'm sure that he probably would have been willing to allow for natural investigations to take place, but instead the federal government was weaponized against him, and he had to spend the entirety of his first administration fighting off those attacks. Now, they've opened the door to this exact same type of treatment that he refused, allegedly, to engage in with his own opponents. So now he comes back, and that door's already been opened. All right. And he's also going to be controlling the government in a much broader sense, far more than he had control in his first administration. I think we're going to be taking back the House. I think we're going to take the Senate. We've got the Supreme Court by and large. And I think that the various mechanisms that exist to investigate people like Hillary Clinton or the people who have attempted to use their power to take down Donald Trump, they've opened that door to have themselves investigated for the crimes that they've clearly committed. And Donald Trump will not be the one directing that. That's going to take its natural course. And, he's going to say, hey, I didn't necessarily want this to happen, but now it's only fair.
Okay. I think it's always been fair from the beginning to go out there and prosecute.
I agree, but they would have attacked him. They would have attacked him even worse than they did and said, you're using your power to take out your opponents. And now he can say, hey, I had the opportunity. I didn't do it. You guys did it after you said that I was going to do it. He's flipped the script on everybody.
If that's all it comes down to, where it's words, Machiavellianism, and putting it out there and just picking the right combination of words in a position right now in a admittedly during a week where people like Joe Biden and the other guy, what's his name, who the hell else, everybody's pretty much agreeing and promising that there's not going to be a peaceful transition. That even if he does win, that there's going to be a way to nullify him. The Jamie Raskin guy,
Yeah.
you know. So you have pretty influential voices, at least at that level of government, who are saying all this week. So I mean, it would make sense to throw it on in there. I don't know. I think for people who pay attention to stuff like we do, the first thing I thought about was Comey. I said, oh, so then you agree with that ridiculous statement of Comey about how there's, nobody reasonable out there would go after it, although that's for different reasons. But
I mean, I think that's perhaps a bridge too far. I mean, he didn't specifically state that, but I mean, like the DOJ has consistently had like a hands-off rule when you're that close to an election. And certainly the way that the DOJ and the FBI were weaponized against Trump, obviously, all of that is totally abhorrent. But like right now, Donald Trump is attempting to look like the lone voice of reason in a political wasteland of like people living in the hills have eyes. Okay. And I think he's doing a relatively good job of it.
Sure.
I mean, he's got to appeal to the country as the guy who's going to bring a sense of normalcy back so that people who otherwise perhaps wouldn't have voted for him are going to be like, hey, we actually do like Donald Trump. We need to vote for him because of what the Democrats have done to this country. All we need to do is get back into office. And, let's be really honest here. Politics, 90% of the time, it's not necessarily about what what you say and what you do not always have to align 100%. You're delivering messaging for hyper-specified audiences or very broad audiences on any given point on a daily basis. Okay, and we're working towards getting him back into the White House. Once he gets back into the White House, his tune may totally change. We don't know, but I understand why you would not want to hear that. And, I don't want to hear that Hillary Clinton was protected by Donald Trump. I mean, that's abhorrent to me and to many, many other people. But to the people who were perhaps championing the FBI and the DOJ going after President Trump when he did nothing, and then they hear him saying, well, guess what? She actually committed all of these crimes and I could have done it, but I chose not to because it simply was in poor taste. They're like, well, gosh. I mean, he really does sound like a reasonable guy. Whereas for the last 8 years, they've been told that he was a madman and he was going to drive us to the brink of extinction. I mean, we got there, but not because of him.
Yeah, but it would be in poor taste if you went after the Clintons for, stealing the china out of the cabinets before they left in 99, 2000 or whatever the hell it was. That's poor taste when you're talking about the kind of things that were being done to him and other people in 2015 and 16, and then right as the transition was ending in January of 17, it does sting a little bit because it's one thing to say, hey, you know what, you all heard. Obviously, we're completely different people. If I went out there in a Donald Trump skin suit, I would be talking about, hey, well, you know what? We all watched James Comey go out there on July 5th, 2016, and read a laundry list of crimes that would have anybody in this country serving multiple life sentences in Fort Leavenworth. But when I got in there, what the hell was I dealing with? Where was I going to find the time to lock Hillary Clinton up when I was fighting for my life for 4 years? Mm-hmm. Things like that. Fighting for my life for 4 years. Hey, I'd like to hear stuff like that. That were, I kind of had my time diminished to go and pursue things that I thought were very, very important at the time because of how I was being completely attacked. Either that or say even less. Someone like me, I'm just like, damn, don't tell me that you had to become protective of her. Protective? Don't say that.
Do you think that it's kind of a bit of revisionist history from Donald Trump? Like there was a lot of people stopping him from prosecuting her. Not that he necessarily protected her, but he chose not to fight that battle at the time. Because,
you know what? I'm sure there were people. I'm sure, and I'm sure that was a big part of it too. I'm sure there was. I mean, if he could snap his fingers and make all things right, then I'm sure he would. But I wouldn't discount that completely.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it. Is he wasn't able to, like, he didn't have the right people in place. There was still too much of a deep state within those channels to really successfully go after a fish that big. So now fast forward to 2024, you're in an election, it's contentious, they took a shot at you. They've been prosecuting you. You have an opportunity to come off as kind of like the adult in the room in a
Yes.
way, like by making comments like that. Like when I was in office, I had all this stuff I could have gone after her for. I chose not to because I thought it would be bad for the country. Look at what they've done to me.
Mm-hmm.
Since, I don't know if he was actively protective of her. I feel like we would have heard something more about that if that was the case at the time. Like you would have had somebody from within the Department of Justice or FBI or wherever come out and be like, look, we wanted to pursue this and we were stopped by Donald Trump. He told us not to pursue this. Or
Yeah. I don't think that happened at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely a bit of revisionism. But again, it makes him look like the adult in the room. And I mean, just think about what you just said. I mean, the court cases that he's still embroiled in, they did just try to assassinate him. Do you necessarily want to go on stage and say, guess what? I'm coming back and you're fucked? I mean, that's probably not going to do much to help you make it to the finish line.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly not looking for, my desire for revenge is mine and my own. I wouldn't,
right.
I wouldn't advise anybody to go out there and talk about how you're going to lay waste to Washington D.C. if you're elected again. I would not advise anybody to say that. This is just for us right now.
Exactly. Do those comments make you any less confident that Trump 2.0 would be different than the first one? Like, do you think he would be more aggressive in holding people accountable and pursuing these crimes? Or
I think that anybody is going to be a lot more shooting from the hip and a lot more let's get this done and impulsive when they don't have to worry about re-election again.
Yes.
Anybody. So my natural hope is that, regardless of whatever political candidate's up there, if it's somebody that if I'm going to vote at all, I'm going to vote for them. I'm usually coming in saying, out of all the things I want done, if I can get 0.5% of them, I'll be happy. So coming into a Donald Trump second term, man, I'm hoping for 5%. That would be wonderful, only because I still convinced that most of the people at the RNC a few weeks ago were hoping that he would have already been dead by that Monday. And I really hope that he really lets it loose. He lets it loose for 4 years if somehow we're able to overcome the fortification.
he has to, right? I mean,
Yeah, if he really wants to save America like he says he does, and he's not just doing this for some ego trip, I mean, that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah.
But he's actually got to have that brass ring in his hand. You can't count your chickens before they hatch. Otherwise, people are going to make sure that they don't.
Right.
yeah,
The weasels who eat eggs.
yeah. Because I can't see him actually saving the country beyond like a 4-year reprieve of what we typically go through, unless there's something like paradigm shattering that happens while he's in office, whether it's something like ending the Fed or switching to like tariffs instead of federal income tax, or holding these people accountable, exposing the crimes, like really ripping the Band-Aid off of the corrupt nature of the deep state in a way that like the normie out there can actually understand it and consume it and react to it properly. Like we're so far down this path of socialism, losing the republic altogether, that I feel like 4 years of just like a good economy and like a small break is not going to be enough. Like you need
No.
something.
Well, with paradigms, talk about that before Zach leaves, because I'd like to hear what he has to say about this. What I would say, Adel, is my first question would be, when you were talking about that, I'm thinking about the southern border.
Yeah.
Because you think about the southern border, do we need a physical barrier? Do we really need a physical barrier? No. In a perfect world, we don't. because there are two parties or two main parties and everything or whatever. There are people in government who understand what their priorities to a country is. There's no welfare state. There's no incentives for people to come over, and there's reasonable technological deployment down there for active denial barriers to keep anybody out. You won't even need that many resources. The wall is such an issue for me from the beginning because it represents the fact that we need a barrier not for the third world. It's like a physical barrier that actually in a small little way overrides the political will of the traitors inside of our government.
Yes.
If we all agreed on the most fundamental thing that keeps a nation, a household safe, you don't need a barrier. You need sound fiscal policy that does not reward criminality, and that's it. So the wall is more so about trying to put a little bit of a barrier in between the will to have everything wide open that the left wants from the inside. So you're right about paradigm shifts. How the hell do you do that? How do you really do that?
I don't know that it's possible, to be quite honest with you. I mean, people are too selfish. The corruption is too endemic, and these people are already in positions of power. But I absolutely agree with you. You know, it really is kind of a counterbalance to the fact that you're never going to make people be perfect or devote themselves 100% in the way that they must if they're going to be effective leaders. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like the border goes, he can't solve it again with just executive fiat. Like he needs to actually get Congress to legislate and put into law what he was trying to do through executive fiat. So it just can't be undone the second the next president comes in.
It's the money. It's the money that is made available to the states. The states don't have enough money as individual sovereign entities to hold up any kind of social programs for their citizens, and to also hold up and cater to non-citizens of the entire union. You know, that it's how do you stop the money being remitted to states that go, and these block grants, they show up for highway funds, they show up for high-speed rail in California, but there's a clause in all of them that the state can use it however they want. It's designated for highways, designated for education, but it could be repurposed. It's just money, and it's all illegal. I mean, that's the whole thing. It doesn't matter how liberal New Mexico is or anything else. They're not going to be able to afford any of this, even if they can, even right now. I mean, it's all about money. It has to be cut off.
It's true. All right. I love you guys, but I got to go. It's time for me to start my intro.
Peace.
All right. I'll see ya. I'm going live. Peace.
Later.
All right, later, Zach. There he goes. Zach Payne, redpill78news.com, and he's going to be live in 5 minutes over on all of his platforms. Frank, have you been following what's been going on in England?
Yeah.
Riots over there. What are your thoughts on all of that? Like the absolute chaos over there. I guess it all started when a few people were stabbed. And then
It started with a lot more than a few people. This is years and years. This is a boiling over. It's not.
I mean, the powder keg exploding. You know?
Oh yeah. It was that moment in V for Vendetta when the cop shot the girl. Only it's the Islamic migrant stabbed many girls, and that was just the latest offense of God knows how many over the years. The sex rings that were uncovered in over the years in multiple cities that were being kept quiet by the local police and government and all that stuff to be able to avoid any kind of confrontation that they knew would boil over. And it's mainly about, we're seeing the very predictable confrontation and the face-off between two types of civilizations. And it's happening in London, England. It's happening all over the UK. It's going to happen eventually in bigger and bigger ways in France and Germany and Italy and everywhere else. I mean, this is just what it is. And I had Jay Dyer on the show last night to talk about the Milner Fabian conspiracy that actually was hatched with Islam in mind as a major destabilizing agent in trying to bring in technocratic socialism for the entire Western world. And you can see why. I used to wonder, why the hell would they do this in particular? Why, if you want to gain control, I understand the 1984 approach to wanting to control a society. Constant gaslighting, bad economic policy, constant wars, surveillance, education that just really brainwashes a person. I mean, you can bring pharmaceuticals, whatever the hell else. You can bring a society down into a docile, controlled state without flooding them with people from a completely opposite society. And I just never understood why you would destroy London if all you wanted to do was control people, because ultimately, now you can see the other half of it is that when this eventual butting of heads, which is always going to happen, even if they suppress what's happening now, it's not a peace that's going to last long. I mean, they don't even have control. The central power doesn't even have control anymore. And I don't think, you can say, well, is it even really a British power, or is it an internationalist fight? Is Britain, is Belgium and Austria and Germany and all these countries, the United States, are they even countries anymore? Or are they designed to be, districts of a more globalist creation? Because, I mean, you can't say that the police have control, or they're out there, they don't even want to enforce the law because they don't want to have a Tet offensive rise up. It's incredible. Have you seen all these dhimmis, these dhimmi police officers out there paying their jizya tax with these? They look like hostage videos. Have you seen these, Adel?
No, I have not.
Dude, you have police chiefs and whatever from different towns and hamlets around the UK right now. It looks like literal beheading videos. If you have it on unmute, you have these guys that are these white guys that are there. First of all, opening up the videos with Islamic greetings, and they have these burly bearded men behind them, dressed in ethnic garb. You think that he is about to say his last words before his throat's cut open, and it really is just these cyclical and methodical denouncements of right-wing terror, and a promise to immigrant communities that the hate is they're going to be protected and all that other stuff. It's just, the gaslighting is sick. It's like end times gaslighting. And in this, we were always going to get to this point here. It really makes me happy that we do live in the United States, because our immigration problem is at least not spearheaded by Islam. Obviously there's gang members and there's all types of people coming over the southern and the northern borders, but most of the people who are coming over have family histories that it's rooted in Catholicism or something like that. I mean, this is it's crazy to see people on one side of a street waving the Union Jack and singing pub songs, and the people on the other side of the street with literal machetes in their hands. That everybody in the UK, you can't even own a spatula without a special license. They've got jungle warfare weapons in their hands, and they're screaming Allahu Akbar. I mean, these are two civilizations that are facing off on a small island nation in Europe, and it's going to happen all over the place eventually. So it's nuts.
And you're not even allowed to talk about it in the UK. Do you see this? This is crazy. And then I'll let you go after this, Frank. But a 45-second clip. Take a listen.
The offence of incitement to racial hatred involves publishing or distributing material which is insulting or abusive, which is intended to or likely to start racial hatred. So if you retweet that, then you're republishing that, and then potentially you're committing that offence. And we do have dedicated police officers who are scouring social media. Their job is to look for this material and then follow up with identification, arrests, and so forth.
There are kids.
So it's a really, really serious. People might think they're not doing anything harmful. They are, and the consequences will be visited upon them.
You think about anybody over the years in the United States, in the United Kingdom, or anywhere in Europe or whatever, who have had a family member lost, especially a young child lost, because the atrocities that have been reported on are dwarfed by what is not reported.
Sure.
And you think about anybody out there who's had to suffer the nightmare of losing family and loved ones to crazy internationalist migration, orchestrated migration crises to flatten the Western world. And then you hear a freak puppet like that come out with his soft little accent talking about how police resources, that means human resources, people who could be doing something to saving lives, are spending time in a cubicle scouring Facebook with God knows how many other kind of AI programs that help them, tackle thousands more internet users a day than they would on their own, scouring social media to make sure that people aren't sharing things to their friends that may have disinformation in it, or something which is just code for something, some unapproved piece of information that the state disapproves of, which is usually information that they cannot steer and they can't control completely, which is probably at least largely, if not mostly, containing truth that's not allowed in the media and hasn't been for some time. I would go nuts. I would go out of my mind if I lost a child anytime over the last 25 years and I have to listen to this guy talking about they have human resources reading people's Facebook feeds to make sure that that everything is factually correct that they're sharing to their friends. It's just incredible what these people, even here in the United States, when you have this Tim Walz guy or anybody else, all these sound bites that are resurfacing now, talking about free speech, this and that, and what should be done, how free speech is not absolute, and people should be held accountable in that. If that was the case, that most members of Congress would be in jail right now. There would be no news networks. Everybody would be in jail. Rachel Maddow would be serving 5 consecutive life sentences.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
It's incredible to hear these people talk about the need to keep information pure and to say that it is of criminal interest to do so. It's really insane.
It's for your protection, Frank. That's it's for your protection to keep all of this information secure and not allow unapproved channels to distribute, dangerous mis and disinformation.
I know. Well, thanks for letting me show up late today, Adel. I hope you have a great night.
Yeah, well, I hope you do too, Frank. What are you doing tonight on your show?
I've got an interview with James Arthur Ray. He was a motivational speaker, still is, for a long time, and he lost it all in a great deal of scandal that actually cost some people their lives. And he building it all back. And I just wanted to get his story because I remember this guy from The Secret and stuff like that. And so he's on. I want to get his story. In the second half, it'll be a bunch of media, mixed media and things like that. Time for calls. And tomorrow should be a lot of fun. We're just going to be chilling out if the storm doesn't take away all of our power. So again, thanks for everything, my friend, and I'll see you soon.
All right, there he goes, Frankie Val. Thanks, buddy.
Take care.
All right, Frankie Val, quite frankly, .tv goes live 7 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Make sure you guys go check him out. Zach Payne just went live 5 minutes ago. Also does an amazing job with his broadcast. My name is Adel Nero. Many of you guys might know me as 412. My channel is 412 Productions. You can find that on pill.net, Rumble, DLive, CloudHub, Odyssey. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I am at 412anon87, at on Truth Social at 412. And I'd love to earn your follow wherever you guys are. I'm going to hang out for a while, do a little overtime with the fam over on pill.net at 412 Productions. So those of you guys hanging out over there, if you want to keep hanging out for a bit longer, I don't know how long I'm going to go today, but definitely do a little bit of overtime with you guys since we missed the show yesterday. So we can hang out for a bit longer. Those of you watching on all the other platforms, find me at pill.net at 412 Productions. Like I said, I'm going to be going for about at least another half hour to an hour. I don't know. We might take some calls, play some music, read some more news. We'll see what the fam wants to do today. I put the link in the live chat over on the Badlands Media channel, putting it over on our Rumble channel, 412 Productions as well. And I'll throw it over on DLive too, for those of you guys over there. And thank you, Camp Lee, for the lemons over there. I just saw those pop up. All right. I'm going to play the outro here to taking it back, and then we'll come back on the other side and shut down the other platforms. We'll read your gold pills, and then let me know what you guys want to do over on pilled.net. You want music, news, calls? We'll hang out for a little while longer. I don't really have anything planned or prepared, just kind of hanging out, and I want to make up for the fact that we didn't get a show in yesterday. So let me know what you guys want to do in the chat over on Pilled. We'll be back in just a moment.
In today's fast-paced
Oops, that's
world,
not right.
peace of mind is priceless.
All right. Thank you to everyone who is continuing to hang out with us over on pilled.net at 412 Productions. If you're not, come by tomorrow. We'll be having Daddy Dragon or Graham Moore hanging out with us from over in England. We'll get a first-hand account of the absolute chaos over there. Really looking forward to having Daddy Dragon on to see what he thinks of all this, to get kind of the inside on the ground scoop of the chaos and madness going on over there. So that'll be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time on 412 Productions. If you're not going to hang out with us here for the rest of this Thursday, have a great rest of your evening, and go make sure you tune into either Zach Payne over on Red Pill 78 right now, and of course, quite frankly, over or later tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So those of you not coming to Pilled, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you later.